Right, I've been thinking long and hard about the hurler of the decade, 2010 to 2019. Hasn't been easy. I've narrowed it down to a short list. TJ Reid, he's obviously going to be in there. No one's going to debate that. Seamus Callanan, Joe Canning, of course, gets in there. Richie Hogan, Padraic Maher, and Patrick Horgan is the last one. So I'm just going to start with the guys that aren't going to quite make it into the absolute kind of last couple for this one. I know it'll put a few noses out of joint, but then again, it's all opinion. But let me know what you think for sure. Patrick Horgan, he's definitely up there in the conversation, but I don't think he's going to be pushing for it. 2019 possibly his biggest season. Had a couple of big seasons, of course, in the decade. I think one of the factors which means he loses out is he scored just one goal from play in the 5 summers before this one just gone, where he did, of course, score 6 from play. Didn't help that Cork had a bit of a dip during those years, so it's not all down to him because he was still contributing. 3 times in the decade he was among the top 3 scorers in the championship. That can't be discounted. And in his career he scored 15, 126 from play, which accounts for 33% of his scores, which is pretty good going. Padraic Maher is one that's definitely in that conversation. There was a stat going around online recently that he'd missed just 26 minutes of the championship in the entire decade, which is fairly mind-boggling when you think about it. Really consistent. 2016 Hurler of the Year nominee. I probably would have had him as Hurler of the Year that year. Obviously the split vote with Callanan meant that Austin Gleeson got in there. 4 of his 5 All-Stars throughout his career have come in this decade, the other one in 2009, and there's a decent chance he'll win one in 2019 as well. So that's a very, very good haul from Padraic Maher, who's played all over the defence for Tipperary over the years. Richie Hogan, one other guy who's you wonder if injuries hadn't struck him so hard in the past couple of years, would he be number 1 in this? But Hurler of the Year 2014, won All-Stars that year, but also 2011, 2015, 2016. He scored 1182 in the decade. 11 championship goals ever, but like as I said, the injuries, I wouldn't even factor in the red card into this decision. Maybe some would. Brilliant, but I think just a couple of other players have done a little bit more. One of those would be Joe Canning, and obviously he's had some brilliant seasons, a couple of quietish ones. I mean, I've often said that the Hurler of the Year in 2017, I felt that someone else on the Galway team was probably more likely in the shake-up for that. You know, Conor Whelan, Padraic Maher, there's probably 1 or 2 off the top of my head that I'm not thinking of. 2018 played like the Hurler of the Year. I mean, that's when he should have got it. Really just to jump back to 2017, obviously really decisive at the start of the final, did some very important things to get his team going, hit the freeze, and then also he was decisive last 5 scores against Tipperary in the semi-final. So, you know, really decisive. Then hurled definitely like Hurler of the Year in 2018. 2019 then he looked like he was going to have a great season, only just came back late against Dublin and got 2 points in his little cameo there. Changed position from full forward to the inside line, and that meant just 1 goal from play in the last 4 championship games. Obviously he's been contributing in different ways out the field. I think the fact that he's gotten in 5 championship seasons this decade, he's ended 5 of those with 10 scores or fewer from play in the entire championship. So, you know, you're kind of trying to drill down into the stats to decide who's in and who's out. And I think with 10 scores or fewer in 5 championship seasons, and you know the plan A, B and C is to get the ball to him, I think that's probably why I've left him out of the top 2 in this one. Still a wonderful player, deserves to be in the conversation. 17, 128 from play in his career, which is 32% from play, so that's not bad either. I have gone for TJ Reid versus Seamus Callanan for the player of the decade. I'll go through TJ Reid first because I don't think anyone would debate that at all. Hurler of the Year 2015, he's been in the top 3 scorers in 5 championship seasons during that decade. Even when he's not scoring, he's arguably Kilkenny's best player. Like, look at the Cork game in the quarter-final this year, Limerick in the semi-final, and even against Tip in the final, scored just a point from play, but still really good. 3 of his 4 club All-Irelands have come in this decade. 4 All-Irelands with Kilkenny, 5 Leinsters, 3 leagues, 3 All-Stars. Another one coming for 2019, no doubt. Has been held scoreless 18 times from play over the course of his career, and his 1580 from play is just 26% of his scores overall. Callanan then, The thing that you'd say against Callanan is 2010 not in the team, and it wasn't really, like, obviously he started off his career 08 and 09 in the team, and it wasn't until 2014 that he fully cemented himself in the team when Eamon O'Shea came in and said, "You're my free taker, you're my full forward," and he just went to town. I think he scored something like 950 that season. It was something insane. He's the top scorer from play this decade. And like the fact that I've mentioned the likes of 26% for Reid, 32% for Canning from play, 57% from play for Seamus Callanan, and he has scored more from play than any of the rest of them as well. Held scoreless from play just seven times in his whole career, which is incredibly low. So it's very much down to Callanan versus Reid as far as I'm concerned. Like, you think in the big days, Callanan has delivered big on the big days at this stage, even the 2019 final, 2016 final, 13 points, 9 from play that day. Even in the drawn game with Kilkenny in 2014, I think it was 6 from play, 2 goals in the replay. So he stepped up a lot in the big days. So I'd say most people would say it's between Canning, Callanan and Reid. I would probably put Reid number 1, Callanan number 2 and Canning number 3. I think just for Reid, he's been in the team for pretty much all of the decade, in and out just at the very start, but just had some big finals, and he's been so effective in so many championship games, whether he's scoring or not. It's just about Reid for me. And just while I'm talking about best of the decade, I'm wondering about the manager of the decade. It seems just obvious to go for Brian Cody because he's just always considered the greatest manager of all time, and he was so dominant in the noughties and it carried into the early part, or the first half of this decade, the tens if you want to call them that. That it almost seems that it's a given that he's the manager of the decade. 4 All-Irelands this decade, 5 Leinsters, 4 leagues, and is there anyone else up there with him? I'd love to see what Liam Sheedy would have returned if he had to stay there all the time. Two championship seasons this decade, 2 All-Irelands, which is fairly sensational going. No Munster title in there, by the way, but 2 All-Irelands all the same. I think Davy Fitzgerald seems to be getting more and more recognition for what he's done over the course of his management career, and I think he's probably most likely to challenge Brian Cody as the manager of the decade. 1 All-Ireland, of course, with Clare, 1 Munster with Waterford, 1 Leinster with Wexford, and 1 league, which came with Clare as well. So it's probably not quite the same level or same numbers as Brian Cody, but the fact that he's gone to 3 different teams and won championship silverware in different competitions, that's got to count for something. But still in all, and actually, while I'm at that, he won Munster in 2010, he won the All-Ireland 2013, and he won Leinster in 2019. So there's great longevity there, whereas Cody's titles in championship anyway started drying up with 15 and in All-Ireland terms and 16 in Leinster. So tight one between them. Probably still just give it to Cody, but I'd love to hear your opinion on it. And don't forget that if you're a regular viewer, click subscribe, and if you want notifications of when new videos come online, just click the bell there and you'll get a notification.